Minasan, konnichiwa. Today we're learning the letters ta, chi, tsu, te, to. I call this the T set because they all start with a t sound. And it's the fourth column of the Japanese alphabet chart, fourth one along. So far we've learnt the vowels, and then we've learnt all the ones that start with a k. They're the blue ones, kakikugeko. And the green ones, sashi suseso. And then these lot, the fourth set, are tchi te to. They all start with a t sound. I've got some clues to help you remember them, and then we're going to look at how to write them. Let's make some space here. So the first one we're looking at is ta. And the way we remember this is we say ta, ta, a T and an A, because it looks like the letter T. And if we add a couple of lines here to the sides, this turns into a lowercase a, like this. A T and an A. And how do you say T and A in English? Ta. Ta. So ta, ta, a T and an A. Here's our ta, and this is how you write it. Okay, you do the horizontal first. That's pretty much a rule in Japanese, isn't it? Always the horizontal first. Then down, and then 2 lines. I always find they look a little bit nicer if they kind of wider on this side slightly than the other side. Yeah? Try that again. Across, down, and the 2 lines. Almost like an equal sign, except they spread apart a little bit. Across, down, line, line. And you can see how you could easily turn that into a T and an A. Ta. Ta, ta, a T and an A. All right, let's look at chi. Chi. When we write chi in English, when we spell out this sound, it's actually written as a chi sound, which doesn't start with a T, does it? But I like to think of it as chi, chi, because there is no T sound in English. In Japanese. So there is no T. Instead, they have chi. This one looks like a chunk of cheese with a fancy toothpick stuck in it. You know those little plastic toothpicks that are shaped like a sword? Stuck in a piece of one of those party cubes of cheese. So jab your toothpick into the cheese and enjoy your party. So this is chi, a chunk of cheese. Chi, a chunk of cheese. There's the cheese. Yum. Cheese is my favorite food. I have it every single day in my lunch. How to write it? Again, that rule, horizontal first. And it reminds me a little bit of writing a number 5, this one. Down and around. Across, down and around. It's like a number 5, but it's pronounced chi, a chunk of cheese. Sometimes, just as an aside, people get confused because they see this. This is like the mirror opposite of chi. And this is not to be confused. This is sa. So if you see that and you think, oh, that's chi, hang on, but it's back the front. That's because it's actually sa, and sometimes sa is written like that, sometimes it's written like that. We're more familiar with that, aren't we? The sa, but sometimes they join it together and it looks like that, which is a back the front chi. So if you see back front chi, it's a sa. Okay, so chi, chunk of cheese, ta, a T and an A. Let's have a look at tsu. Tsunami. we know a tsunami. This is tsu, makes a tsu sound. It's like number two with an S in the middle. Tsu. How many do you want? Two of them. That's what it sounds like, tsu. We don't actually have this sound in English much, but in Japanese, definitely, comes up all the time. And tsunami. Tsunami is actually, this is great because it's actually a Japanese word. That's because poor Japan is the biggest sufferer in the world of tsunamis, which means, as we know, a giant wave caused by an earthquake that floods the land and washes things away. Really terrible. Thank goodness we don't have them in Australia, huh? So, tsunami. You can see here how it looks like. There's a tsu, and it looks like a giant wave about to curl over and cause trouble. So, tsunami. Tsunami. Easy to write. Sometimes hard to make it look good. Go up a little bit and around, and then don't go all the way back to the start. We don't go all the way back to here. It's not like back the front C. It actually stops short of the end. Yeah? Tsunami. Ooh, that's a yucky one. Hang on, do it again. Tsunami. So try and trace it with your finger and say it as we go along. Tsunami. Finger pencils in the air. Tsunami. Tsunami. And don't forget, of course, the ones we've already learnt today. Ta, a T and an A. Chi, a chunk of cheese. Tsunami. Excuse me. And again, excuse me, goodness. Next letter, te. This is a hard one to find a clue for. Te. I'm yet to see a really convincing great clue for this one. I like to think of it as karate. You know, karate is a Japanese sport. It's like a martial art for defending yourself. Kara actually means empty, and te means hand. Te for hand. So this is a single letter that actually means a whole thing. It actually means hand, it's a letter and it's a word. You might remember from our atama, kata, hiza, ashi, tote, our head, shoulders, knees and toes song. Te is your hand. And in fact, oh, wrong hand, here we go. If you look at your hand, this is the one where te, the letter te, is actually written on your hand. Can you see that? So there's a te right there. See if you can find that on your hands. Te. Te. There it is. So te is written on your hand and actually means hand. So karate. When we chant this one, I say te, karate. Ta, TNNA, chi, chunk of cheese, tsunami, te, karate. There's also the clue that you remember from school. It says te, a broken tennis racket. I don't know, I've never liked that clue much. It's a bit dodgy. So it's meant to be there's the handle of the tennis racket, and there's the tennis racket itself, and you can see someone's had a temper tantrum and broken the racket so that the handle bends sideways. If that works for you, excellent. Or if you can remember karate, because it's actually a Japanese word, te, karate. Either way, you can choose which one works best for you, which clue makes it easier for you to remember te. So we go across and down. Across and down. Fairly easy to write. It's not actually a C. It kind of tapers off towards the end, goes off towards the corner instead of, as expected, curling up. Yeah? Te, te, karate. Ta, ta, tna. Chi, chi, chunk of cheese. Tsu, tsu, tsunami. Te, te, karate. And the last one for today is to. Let's get rid of some of these. Ta, chi, tsu. Te, and to. To. To, to looks like a toe. This is the kind of creepy one because you've got someone's toe and ouch, they've got a splinter in it. There's the toe with their toenail. We can pretend there's a toenail in there. And ouch, they've got a splinter sticking into their toe. So to looks like a toe. All right. And the way you write that is a little bit like a capital Y in English. Capital Y, but then you curl off at the end. Capital Y, curl off at the end. Capital Y, curl off at the end. Capital Y, curl off at the end. Okay. So, ta, chi, tsu, tse, to. Let's have a look at them one more time. Ta, ta, tna, chi, chi, chunk of cheese. Tsu, tsu, tsunami. Te, te, karate. And to looks like a toe.